Hey everybody, it is Chris from the studios of WFC3. It's yet again Monkey Business, your weekly podcast for all things nerd world news. In the studio with me, as always, the Lord Master of all things radio and media, Billy DeTore.
Oh, hi Chris.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm good.
Good. And my surly human sidekick, Tanya Metris.
Hello.
I'm going to get clobbered because I'm sitting next to her again in the studio. With me,
That's
favorite
dangerous.
intern, Tony Bacchetta.
Hi, guys.
Ever-present commentator, Wayne Brown.
Hey.
And a new voice in the studio today, Jason Hilton.
Howdy.
Jason, you're all bruised and beaten up over there.
Yeah, it's a good thing this isn't TV.
I'm telling you. We've got faces for radio, as Tanya tried pointing out to me the last time we were in studio.
And Billy said that we probably shouldn't sit next to each other because we fight.
We do bicker.
We're in arm's reach of
We
each
do
other.
bicker a lot.
Do I have to sit between you two kids?
Oh, yeah. Do I have to pull this radio show over?
Don't make me turn
stop
this
the
radio
car.
station around.
Don't make me turn this radio station around. It'll be bad. All right. So
We're sorry, Billy.
So today's topic,
Dun, dun,
we've covered
dun.
lots of different things, and we've had our little, like we call them, the foundation chats. So we kind of get our armchair quarterbacking in. We try to get the baseline for things that we're going to talk about in the future. And today is the DCU, DC Comics universe, the movie universe.
I'm out.
DC's response to the MCU, I would suppose, is probably the best way to call it. Now,
Well, if you
Go ahead,
count that back in the 70s with Superman and the Batman movies,
Mm-hmm.
they started their own. Well, they had like three Superman movies. They started a universe back then, but they kind of let it.
stopped.
Actually,
They
4
stopped.
Superman.
It was- yeah.
movies.
They were all,
Superman 4, the quest
Quest
for
for
the quest to
fire?
ignore it.
Quest for
The quest for
peace?
peace.
Yeah.
the quest
The
for ignoring
quest
this movie.
for more money.
Isn't that the way?
That's
Mel Brooks
Spaceballs too.
Yeah, Mel Brooks, Spaceballs 2, The Search for More Money.
Yes, that's right.
Or something like that.
It's merchandising.
Or originally it was Spaceballs 3, The Search for Spaceballs 2. That was, I think, what it was originally. But anyway, today we're going to focus our conversation on the current version of the DCU. Man of Steel, Superman versus Batman, Suicide Squad, and the upcoming Wonder Woman and Justice League movies. What are the influences that we think have inspired these movies? Where do you think? How have they gone so far? Where do they think they're going? So we're going to pat ourselves on the back with our great level of expertise and armchair quarterback these movies, and give our honest look at things and information we've learned about where they might be going, using all sorts of media, because DC really has kind of owned television over the decades, with the Super Friends cartoons and all the different TV shows and movies that have sprouted up over the past 40 years. So are they going to use these as influences for the DCU going
No.
forward? Probably not.
Unfortunately, no.
No.
You don't think so, Billy?
I would say
No.
Teen Titans is a huge
No.
hit in our house.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was.
Well, define influence.
Teen Titans Go or regular
Oh,
Teen
God,
Titans?
don't-
Oh, don't do that.
Don't even talk about
Don't
Go.
even bring up Go.
That Weird Al Yankovic Teen Titans episode was great.
Now, to circle around to Jason asked the question to define influence. In my opinion on this one, would it be that all of this material that they have come up with through comic books, through TV, through movies in the past, etc., are they going to use those stories? Are they going to use some of that tenor, some of that feel, some of the the visuals to influence what the DCU is going to have going forward?
Okay.
I know.
I missed that.
You missed that. How did
It's like there was like all the
Well, they used Batman versus
I was
Superman.
watching
They
the
used
computer.
Dark Knight Returns, and they only used a
The Frank
portion.
Miller graphic novel.
Yeah,
It's
they only
whether
used
they-
a portion of it.
I think they will use it, but whether they use it correctly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is the
always
question.
up for interpretation.
So we'll start right from the jump. When we talked about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, we had something like 10 movies to talk about, but in this case, we only have really three.
Yeah.
And with 2 on the way, so we can probably spend a little bit more time on each of them.
No,
There's
probably, but
a
10
ton
on the way. Yeah,
And there's a
10.
well,
yeah, 10 on the way.
Two right now.
Yeah.
Two.
but there's
2 that
things
you can
scheduled
actually
through-
see footage and trailers of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They've got movies scheduled through 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, everybody does. I think there's not a franchise out there that hasn't released what it's going to be up to for the next 4 or 5 years in some cases.
New Star Wars movie every year.
Yeah. Yay.
Yay!
I always
Wait,
say-
that's a whole nother
Because
conversation.
that's
yeah.
cash. It's cash.
Mm-hmm.
Cash
That's
money.
what all the studios want. That's why there's a new Harry Potter movie, because they want a cash cow so they can milk it every year and get people in the seats every year.
All right, and I'm the one who loves dystopian stuff, but you, sir, are a cynic, and that's kind of awesome. But let me ask you, before we jump in, then. So let's toy with that a little bit. Do you think that that's really 100% all they care about? They don't want to tell a good story at all?
Bean counters do.
The bean counters want to tell a good story because then
they want to.
They just all they want is the money.
They want the money.
But you wouldn't
you
you
can't
think
get
that
the money without a good story?
Well, that's the thing. Even the bean counters would probably want to have some sort of creative, quality level because they know that people are going to come see it again and again if it's good. If they think it's going to suck, then it's not going to make as much money.
But then with the DC universe as it is right now, it sucked because they don't get the people wanting to see it as much as the Marvel Cinematic Universe has.
Well, that's true.
Marvel Cinematic Universe has made tons of money, whereas the DC Cinematic Universe hasn't. They were thinking that Batman versus Superman was going to be at least $1 billion movie.
And where was it? I haven't really paid attention to that.
I think it's like $860 million right now.
Oh, those poor guys. Oh,
Well,
three-quarters of $1 billion.
But they spent over $250 million on it. So they were and it had Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. It had the Trinity in it. And it couldn't
the
do
DC Holy Trinity.
It couldn't do as well as Captain America.
That one may have made a ton of money. $860 million, nothing to sneeze at, but it makes people less likely to go see the second one.
Yes.
Which may only make $500 million.
Oh, darn.
But when you start spending $250 million on all these movies and you're only making maybe breaking even because you at least have to do at least 2 times whatever your budget is to break even.
Oh, yeah.
So
See, as I always say that when it comes to comic book readers, everybody loves both DC and Marvel, but
Right.
everybody has a preference,
Yeah.
one over the other. And I always grew up loving DC comics. Now, I love both of them, but DC was my main go-to comics.
Well, yeah, Batman's been your guy since the word
Batman
go.
and Superman and the Legion of Superheroes and I love DC comics.
I want to see the Matter Eater Lad movie.
Exactly. But
Is that really going to be are you joking right now? Please tell me you're joking because I know of that character.
Yeah.
And I know that they've made reference to him lately, so I'm like, what the hell?
My pull list is still just about all DC, but the movies have disappointed me. And I still look forward to them. Like, this one, they're going to nail it this time. They can't mess it up 4 times in a row.
4 times.
Oh, yeah.
I think just looking at the two different universes, DC's movies seem to be just so much more dark in regards to their feel to it and just the special effects. Everything else,
But they didn't used to be.
I mean,
looking at the original Superman.
They made the change to. They wanted
Superman
to go.
was so full of hope, like the original Superman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and even the Superman they have in the current Supergirl TV show,
Yes.
is they nailed it.
Yeah.
They nailed it.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, the DC movie Superman, the
Mopey
current one,
Superman.
Mopey Superman, hobo, mopey, dark. Why does everybody hate me, Superman?
I'm going to go fish in the Arctic, Superman.
Well, I think that there's obviously a disconnect between what DC is putting out in their books and what they're trying to put out in their universe. And I think why the TV shows do so well is there is drama, there is some hokiness to it, but the cartoon, or excuse me, the movies seem to go dark. And as a bean counter and as the bean counter of the group here, there is obviously some changes being made.
Right.
I think Jeff Johns took over, correct?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
That's like, I got goosebumps. Just, I mean, that's a great turn for the better.
Okay.
Hopefully things will change in that regard because what they do is they think, okay, we're making movies. Let's get guys who know how to make movies first.
But is he going to be writing the movies? Have creative control, some version, because he's a great writer. I loved his work on The Flash and Batman and all Justice Society. But is he going to actually put his pen to paper for the
That's
next
yet to be
DC?
seen, but I think what's important is that they're starting to put people in place that are comic book people as opposed to movie people, right? There's if they were saying, let's find guys who know how to make cars. Let's say this is a racing team. Let's find guys who know how to make cars first. Then we'll find really good drivers, and then we'll find really creative people to color them and do all the the funky stuff. But they were just trying to put the nuts and bolts in place, I think, first, and they did that. And clearly there is as bean counters come, there's 10 movies slated, 15 movies. There's many movies slated,
Right.
so they see the money. The guys who are putting up the money are saying, okay, I'll do that again. And I'll do that again 10 times or 15 times. So
Well, it all
they see
depends on when it starts making that dip into we're starting to lose money on these. Then Or we're not making as much as we want to make.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. We're not making as much as we want. Yeah, it made money, but we wanted more.
So are we going to see the effect of... I'm trying to think of how I want to form this question in my head. And there's professional radio at its disposal. I'm trying to see how one's going to influence the other, how the money is going to influence the story, and the story could influence the money. And you're looking at potentially a franchise that could drag in over time $8-9 billion.
The money shouldn't have anything to do with it. It should be the story.
Because a good movie, in general, I mean, you can't say every time a good movie is going to make money, but us superhero nerds, us geeks, want a good movie, and we will go over and over again to a good. Going back to the Michael Keaton Batman movie, I saw it in the theater 3 or 4 times.
Absolutely, so did I.
I saw Batman versus Superman once.
Right.
I had the ultimate ticket where I could see it every day of the week if I wanted to, and I only saw it twice.
See, for me, the barometer are my kids, my 2 teenagers at home, and both of them, boy and girl, are both growing up nerd, and I love it because they're picking up on the same influences that I have, and so there's this almost this vibe that if the movie was really awesome, we go to see it again in the theater,
and then you buy it on it on VHS, and then when DVDs came out, I bought it on DVD. Right. Then Blu-rays, I bought the Blu-ray box set, and you just keep buying it over and over again.
And that's where I was going with this. I know a movie is really good that the moment it is released on DVD, on video, whatever the case may be, the kids are saying, "Hey, such and such is out now. Can we get that for the house?" You know, and so I know if we've seen it a couple times in the theater, and the moment it comes out on DVD, they're interested. They want, "Hey, Dad, can we pick that up?" And then I know that's a movie that's really got their attention. Batman versus Superman. We saw it once, like you, Billy. And then when the DVD came out, I looked at my son and I'm like, "Hey, what do you think? Should we go grab it?" And he goes, whenever. Maybe when it comes out a little cheaper, maybe, or a discount or something.
I feel the same way. As a completist, I need it.
Yeah,
but not yet.
Yeah, not yet.
Yeah.
And I think to me that was the review of a then 12, 13-year-old. He's 14 now.
What about Deadpool?
Deadpool, my kids have not seen, nor will they. Now, here's my anecdote about Deadpool. When it comes to a movie that's going to be a little bit more adult, a little bit more R-rated, I tell the kids...
Batman versus Superman's R-rated. That's why you get the extended cut.
Well, yeah, the extended cuts are rated. The movie, the theater version was PG-13.
Yeah, PG-13.
I tell the kids, though, when a movie like that comes out, I say, I'll go see it first, and then I will come home and let you know if you're old enough to see it. And my wife and I went to go see Deadpool. We come home, and Ian immediately asks me, "Dad, am I old enough to see it?" And I looked at him, I said, "Honey, I don't even think I was old enough to see it." So,
and me taking my 17-year-old
oh,
son
that must have
to
been
see
fun.
it. Yeah,
did you spend half of it hiding his eyes?
I spent half of it hiding my eyes.
You'll never look at unicorns the same way ever again.
Oh my God, no.
But see,
I'm going to have to start your previewing type thing.
People are talking about the Marvel movies. No one's saying this about the DC.
Right.
Yeah.
And they have not landed that yet.
It's kind of sad when you look at the 3 that are out right now and say that Suicide Squad was probably the best of the 3, at least in my mind.
Yeah, no, that's probably not bad. That's not a bad assessment. I know my kids have seen Suicide Squad, because it's out there and you can't stop them if they are determined to see it. And they're both like, "Well, yeah, that's the tenor is like, oh, okay, yeah, it was good, it was fun, but
But throw one of the Marvel movies in front of them.
There you go.
Yeah.
Now we're in.
So that's what DC has to do.
Well,
I'm not that. I don't think I'm there.
Okay.
As growing up, I'm a flip-flopper, DC Marvel, but I think I've leaned more towards Marvel. Huge Captain America fan, been an Avengers fan for a long time.
There you go.
Did you see Captain America Civil War?
Yeah.
That's what Batman versus Superman should. That's the same plot.
Right.
Right, but it didn't start out Captain America Civil War. It started out Captain America and then moved into that. So
it evolved.
I believe that's going to eventually happen. But I think Suicide Squad was right up there with any number of the Marvel Universe's movies that were out there. I enjoyed it. I thought it was great.
The thing is, people say the current DC movies are too dark, but the Nolan Batman movies were dark, and they were excellent. I mean, I mentioned, Chris, you weren't in the room yet. Just yesterday, I watched Dark Knight Rises again for the first time since it was at the theater. I saw it at the theater, and maybe I was affected by the fact the Colorado thing happened the previous day.
Okay. Yeah,
maybe it was a long day at work, and I was tired. But I didn't love it. But I had it at home, and I was, let me watch this again. And I wound up loving it.
And that's the one with Bane.
Bane.
Yes.
And
Tom Hardy
Catwoman.
doing his 19th
Yes.
century boxer routine.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
it
wasn't perfect.
No.
It had flaws, but I really, really thought it was really good.
And give it back to you, the people.
That line sounds familiar for some reason,
Thank
Tony.
you, Mr. Trump.
Yeah. And I think the only problem I had with Dark Knight Rises is that there are certain areas that kind of plotted. The story
was a little
slowed
slow.
down.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And he didn't do anything with the Venom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
That was a little depressing. Plus, I
had to think twice there for a second because I thought you were talking about the Marvel character for a moment.
I
Like,
know, me too. I'm like, wait, huh?
But just the fact, like, when I left the theater, I was thinking they didn't really do much with Catwoman, but she was in it enough, and I thought Anne Hathaway was a fine Catwoman.
Oh, yeah, I love Anne Hathaway. I don't understand the Anne Hathaway hate. I never have.
Me either.
I don't
It's
get
like
it.
the Amy Adams hate for Batman versus
For Lois Lane?
Well,
For Lois Lane.
Yeah, what
that
was that all
character's
about?
terrible.
I think,
She's a good actress, but she's a terrible Lois Lane.
okay. What makes it that way? What's so bad about her? I mean, because that'll help us get right into the movies that we've been trying to talk about now for the past 20 minutes.
It's Lois Lane is feistier. She's I think part of the problem is Superman is wrong.
She isn't.
So
Okay.
everything is
She
based
isn't a
off of
Terry Hatcher,
Superman.
yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Everything's
not Terry Hatcher.
She's not Terry Hatcher. She's not Margot Kidder.
Not
Yeah.
Noel Neal.
Yeah.
Not Phyllis Coates. Not any of them.
Okay.
She's
And you were
bland.
talking, is that feistiness that,
Yeah.
and she's not very, is that spirited.
and
Right.
she's got to have black hair. I don't care.
She can't be a
Gotta have
redhead.
black hair.
No.
Lois Lane
Yeah,
can't be a
Lois
redhead.
Lane has to have black hair.
Noel Neal had red hair.
I don't care. She was
Well, that was a black and white, though. So that was a black and white show, so you couldn't tell.
Until it came into colored and you could see.
All right, so Man of Steel starts this whole ball rolling 20 minutes later into the conversation.
Which I still have to see.
All right, well, we have homework.
I think we
Have you ever
actually-
done any of the homework assignments I've given you in the past 3 months?
You've given me homework?
Yeah, there you go. Thank you, teacher. And you're the one who's
I'm
the actual teacher.
Yeah,
in the,
so
in the-
therefore
in
I
the
don't do
family.
homework.
That's awesome.
No, I think
You
we
did
have
it in
this-
school.
Yeah.
I did do it in school because I don't believe in homework, so to speak, because kids have to be kids.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I think we have it on DVD somewhere at home, but I'll have to try to watch it.
See, at my
soon.
house, it's in the M section of my DVD rack.
There
so
you
I go.
go.
Right there, and there it is, Man
it's
of Steel.
probably in
Man
the
of
superhero
Steel.
movies in our organization system. But I did see Batman versus Superman.
Where did okay, Man of Steel?
And I
just
thought
gonna-
it was okay.
This is my first question. All right, and this obviously shows my bias. Where did it go wrong right off the bat? That's my question.
Fishing.
The fishing boat scene.
Yeah.
Or maybe
the fact they made him unlikable. People trust Superman. He's truth, justice in the American way.
I had said this back when we were doing the comic book panel at FC3 16. In my opinion, and again, this is my opinion only, everybody who says my favorite comic book character is blank.
Batman.
That
usually
person's
Batman.
always going to that character is always second place to Superman. Everybody just communally loves this character. I mean, they may not collect the title, they may not go out of their way for it, but in everybody's mindset, or the majority of the mindset, the superhero of all comic books, all publishing houses, everything is Superman. That's the benchmark that everybody kind of bases their beliefs and their people off of.
He
So
was the
when I
first
say
Superman,
when I
first
say
superhero.
when I say I love Amazing Spider-Man, he's always been Spider-Man's always been one of my favorite
unless you
comic book
count
characters
Doc
of all time.
Savage.
Yeah.
And
Then that's so you keep in the back of your mind. Superman is the guy. He's the barometer for it all.
He's Mickey Mouse.
He is. Thank you. Yes, that's a great way of looking at it. He's the centerpiece of the industry in essence. So when you think of everything that Superman stands for, and you can look back over the years of the various plot lines and the arcs and the silliness and the seriousness of it. The A and the Z of it all. You can see some core things. The hope, which was not in this movie. The integrity, which was not in this movie.
Oh, the Kents were like just dreadful. Pa Kent was dreadful.
I'm okay with Diane Lane, but yeah, Kevin Costner.
It's like
He could have done it. I think he had the chops to play the part.
He does. But
a lot of these. I think a lot of these people, like you said, Amy Adams, great actress, bad part. Kevin Costner, great actor, bad part. So we can say writing. All right, look at it that way.
Yeah.
What were they trying to convey? Why did they go that way? And what do you think? Jason, you look like you're forming a point over there. You're thinking about something at the moment. What do you got? Any 2 cents for this at the moment? Or should I just hang myself a little bit further?
Yeah, I mean, I guess is it writing or is it casting?
I don't think it's casting though.
Because I think these people could have played these parts.
Do you think they were trying to distance themselves from the feel of the Christopher Reeves movies?
Not the Christopher. Well, that's for one, but also from the Brandon Routh movie, the Stalker Superman.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the problem that you run into right off the bat is I don't know that I ever see Superman as a very serious character.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's just too omnipotent. He's just too. I could see you having a good force for him to fight, but I loved always, too, the whole Lex Luthor thing that's like, he's just a regular guy. He's just, he's smart, but he's not, and I think to try to put some other it's like two gods fighting in the air. You never have a movie about two gods fighting. You have a movie about a god and then and a guy fighting against that god.
Yeah, the David and Goliath kind of thing.
Yeah, but, to just this like way above us kind of thing happening.
Yeah, and there was that dynamic between Superman and Lex Luthor. Lex knew he could just, if Superman wanted to, he could just break him in half and be done with it. But there was always that balance between the two. Like they knew how to, one could defeat the other, but you're never sure which one was going to actually be the victor.
When you really think of what Superman's real weakness is, it's
he's human.
That he won't kill. That that he won't. So that's the thing. It's like no boo boo.
Except now,
what are you going to do?
But now he does.
Except now he does.
Yeah, now he does, and so that kind of what rule changes that?
But they're saying now because he killed Zod in the movies, he won't kill and says, well then why didn't he just snap Batman's neck in 2 seconds or
because of Martha?
Yeah. Martha. Your mother's name is Martha. My name's Martha too. Hey, I'm not going to kill you today. What? What? All right, we'll get to that in a minute.
That was just so stupid.
Of all of the plot twists and turns, but like I said,
they couldn't write. They wrote themselves into a corner, and
so it goes back to the writing.
It was like, Batman was just about to stab him, and there was nothing to stop him until it's like save Martha. And it's like.
They've gotten Superman right so many times, though. Even George Reeves and paunchy belly and terrible special effects. Fine Superman. I buy it. Okay. Superman the Animated Series.
Excellent.
Super Friends. Smallville.
Justice League.
Superboy.
Lois and Clark.
Lois and Clark.
Here's something I say about Superman that I think is super important. How in the world does Superman even get muscles? What does he lift? That's so.
That's an excellent point.
Like, so he should always, in my opinion, be an average-looking person.
Right?
How does he get ripped or so cut or you know what I mean?
That's something I never thought of.
Seriously, I'd never even considered that. That is fantastic. Now I have that training montage in The Incredibles where he's bench pressing the train cars.
That's basically it.
Yeah,
it's got to be it.
But then in Superman Returns with Brandon Routh, and again, I think the Stalker Superman thing is writing because I think Brandon Routh did a great job with the character part. You see him at the end; he's lifting an entire, basically it's beyond island at that point. It's a small continent at that stage. He's lifting it up into space. So what do you do? How do you
filled island?
Yeah, he's lifting it. And how do you get those muscles? That's an awesome point. Never even thought of it.
I'm assuming, Wayne, you've probably seen this. I don't know the rest of you. The documentary, The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened?
Yes.
Oh, is that the one with Nick Cage?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it's the documentary that sort of chronicles the winding path of that movie, of Kevin Smith writing it, and then John Peters being involved, and then Tim Burton. It's a long winding path to a movie that never happened, and then eventually sort of evolved in this Superman, the Brandon Routh movie.
Okay.
But
I mean,
really
I know
part
that
of
the
it.
movie had existed in concept form. I knew that, there are pictures of Nick Cage with the long hair and the suit and everything. I know, that it existed.
Those pictures are scary.
They are scary. I have not seen the documentary that you refer to.
It's on Showtime, and I've got it on DVR, and I keep it forever.
I've got it I've got it.
But it just shows that they got confused. They wanted to distance themselves from Christopher Reeves and sort of right from whatever time they decided to try and make that movie.
Okay.
Let's do something different with Superman. Now, Superman's who Superman is. And,
so I think the big mistake that we can probably distill this down to, the bottom common denominator, is to distance yourself from what Christopher Reeve and that whole crew, and everybody who was involved, the writing, the directing, etc. What they created was, we'll just call it a gold standard for the way that this particular character should be treated. Why would you turn away from that? I mean, you want to be able to put your own spin on it, but I think you could do that without distancing yourself from it, you can do it by emulating it, respecting it, honoring it in some way, shape, or form. And that's where they went wrong.
That's what I think the Supergirl TV show has done right. Is that they've gotten close to know that he's not as goofy a Clark Kent. But it's a nice, uplifting version of Superman who loves his cousin. He'll come help every once in a while, and people don't hate him.
I like the actor too. I think he's done a great job with the part.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
Because it's in the DC cinematic universe, is like people don't like him because people don't know him. Because he hasn't been Superboy, he hasn't been any of that stuff. He's just been Superman for like a week.
Yeah.
And then
he showed up, and there's a guy, and you can't blame people for being suspicious.
And then he shows up, and then other aliens show up and try and destroy Metropolis.
Yeah.
And then it just goes downhill from there.
And downhill it does.
Except for Batman. They also distanced themselves from the Adam West Batman. Because...
But the comics did that to begin with. Like, the Adam West Batman sort of distanced itself from the early comics.
Yes.
So there was a history of Dark Batman.
Yes.
And Michael Keaton's version is fine. And
right.
I didn't even hate...
Until the Mr. Freeze version.
I didn't even hate that one, to be honest with you.
How many seasons was the Alan West Batman?
3.
3, yeah.
117 episodes?
Yeah, something like that. I didn't even hate the Mr. Freeze version. It's goofy and fine.
The only thing I hated was bat nipples.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Wayne, you have a history of you because you have this breadth of experience, things that you've seen. You're very prone, I've noticed, of everybody on the panel to look at the details that nobody else really looks at.
Well,
and that's not a bad thing. I'm not saying
it was because Batman had them, Robin had them, Batgirl didn't have them.
So equality in the nipple is what you're saying. You're looking for equality in the damn nipple, and Alicia Silverstone has actually shown them off. So why not bring them out, man? Come on, let's go.
But it was also
don't look at me like that, Tanya.
She shouldn't have been Alfred's
niece. Yeah. I'm a sort of whiner about little details like that. Like, no, she's not Alfred's niece.
It's like even right now in Supergirl, Jimmy Olsen is buff.
Yeah,
he's more built than Superman.
Yeah, I don't mind him being black, but I don't like everybody knowing
he's
her
taller than Superman.
Yeah, everybody knowing her secret identity irritates me to no end.
Yes.
And that's been a thing where, and I've noticed that a lot, is that your secret identity has really never been that secret, apparently, in a lot of these shows.
They need to bring back super hypnosis.
How many people know how many people know Ollie is Green Arrow?
I think half the city at this point.
Star City. Or
well,
whatever
how
it's
many
called.
know that Tony Stark is Iron Man?
Everybody.
And where he lived?
Even in the comics, nobody knew Iron Man was Tony Stark because it was always Tony Stark's bodyguard for like years.
Yeah. Well, then once the cat was out of the bag, though, is he's made no bones about it. Then
but when the first Iron Man movie, I'm Iron Man. Even trying now.
The thing is, but Marvel was able to play with that and do things with that I feel like DC wouldn't be able to do. Yeah.
And it's like Captain America. It's like, why do you wear a mask? Everybody knows you're Steve Rogers.
It's part of the
because it
uniform.
looks cool.
Because it looks cool.
It makes me look.
But again,
it's part of his uniform.
Back in the comic,
but yet the glasses were the disguise for Clark Kent.
Yeah, but he had super hypnosis too.
They made a joke about the glasses in Supergirl this past week, where her sister's girlfriend made a joke. Of course, I know Kara's Supergirl. The glasses aren't that big a deal.
I actually, you know what? I've lost track of Supergirl. I haven't watched it in about a month, I think.
It just came back.
It just came back in?
Yeah.
Did it just come back on this week? All right, so I'm only missing an episode or two.
I saw that 4-show crossover. That's pretty much
that was
Supergirl.
I saw that.
That was the last one until this past week.
Okay, so I'm not as far back as I was worried then.
Yeah.
Good. All right, so I'll start catching up with all
they
this.
did a good job with that. I'm really interested to see what they do with the Legion of Superheroes. That's going to be...
I
They
love
have
the
not
Legion of
said the
Superheroes.
Legion yet. They've just hinted everywhere, shown everything.
Who's seen
the flight ring?
No, Legends. They've started talking about the Legion of
Doom.
They've actually named it the Legion of Doom.
Yes, I know. That's different than the
cool.
Legion of Superheroes. But the Legion of Doom, it's like that. Especially this week, they were just joking all over about the Legion of Doom.
Oh, yeah. I remember seeing it at some Saturday morning cartoon.
Yeah, and it was like...
Because it was wonderful. I laughed when
they said
like
that.
he said that. Yeah, it was hilarious.
That now what was the Flash? There was like a headline or something. What was that? Too?
Which
was
one?
there something in the?
I'm behind
on
on
the
Flash.
What was it?
I'm caught up.
On the Flash, there was like a headline in one of the papers. Or
Oh,
something.
yeah.
Flash,
They went
that's Flashpoint,
forward.
Yeah.
And
And they're
With the
trying to
Legion
like
thing.
figure out how to fix it.
how to fix the timeline.
Well,
Yeah.
just I mean, like,
But
I'm
that's
a huge
Crisis,
Legion.
though.
I'm a
Yeah,
huge
they're-
Legion fan.
Yeah, I am too. That was my favorite comic.
Oh,
as
but
a
wasn't
kid.
there
Yeah,
something
just
about
love it.
Legion of Doom or something? And
that's
one
a
of the
separate
headlines,
Legion
but
of-
one of the
Legion of
headlines.
Superheroes are a 30th century superhero group of teenagers that Superboy was part of.
Oh, I
But
see.
Superman has a Legion flight ring in the Fortress of Solitude.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
There's an Easter egg for you.
And it's
You got to
like-
go back and watch
and,
it now.
and Mon-El is a member of the Legion of Superheroes.
Okay.
So I expect
Oh, okay.
some type of.
And one of my favorite moments, and I get all talking about it, is I love when Karate Kid comes to try out for
Yes.
the Legion.
Karate
and he's like,
Kid.
I'll fight Superman. And he's like, goes toe to toe with Superman. I mean, that's just, now that's a good story, right?
Yeah. He can find the weakness of anything.
Oh, I see. So, like, if you were looking at me, you would see Legos, Doctor Who, and these donut holes.
So imagine me as a fan of the Legion of Superheroes. Grew up reading them through the mid '70s. When the Ralph Macchio movie came out, and I found out it wasn't about him. Oh, I was so disappointed.
Yes. Agreed.
Agreed. All right, so we did manage to at least touch on Man of Steel. I love you guys, I really do.
You knew that we were just not going to stay
no,
on topic. Come on.
No, I
Not stay
have
on
no
target,
delusions.
stay
I
on
have no
target.
delusions of adequacy when it comes to hosting this gig. All right, so we touched on Man of Steel. We talked about some of the problems with it. The big problem we have with Man of Steel is that it really kind of diverges away from Superman's overall
It was dark.
theme, overall feeling. And
It's
why would
just
you make a
not-
Superman movie dark? Right? That basically
Because they
that.
wanted to they wanted to do something different, and they wanted and dark.
I think what
It's
they were
different.
trying to do was they were trying to harken back to the Christopher Nolan Batman movies
Yes.
with Superman, but Superman is a hopeful character and a hokey character and a good character.
And that's why he's always been such a great balancing point.
Yeah,
that's
it's
why
just
he
like
and Batman are the two guys in the Holy Trinity because they balance each other in that respect.
And then Batman versus Superman, where Gotham is a suburb of Metropolis.
I don't know enough about the DC universe to know
they
how
were
bad
always
that is.
two separate cities, weren't they?
Well,
Yeah.
Metropolis is
Just look at our faces.
that's all I need really at this point. I get the Metropolis has always been an analog for New York City.
Kinda, yes.
What's Gotham City supposed to
Is
be?
it
It's
a
also
borough?
supposed to be a
analog of New
for
York City.
Yeah, that's
the
what I thought
dark part of
Gotham
New
was.
York City.
It's
Is it kind of like the Hell's Kitchen of New York
yes,
City?
yes.
Okay.
I thought a Metropolis could be more like almost
Chicago.
Chicago, yeah.
Yeah.
Metropolis
But it's
has
a
always
big.
been
It's
like
one of the big cities,
Right.
Midwest.
Yeah.
those
But
cities.
Gotham was always like
I thought Gotham was always New York.
Brooklyn,
Yeah.
New York,
Yeah.
kind of like.
Okay.
Metropolis was always Manhattan, and
Yes.
and Gotham was always like the Bronx or
right. That'd work.
or yeah.
All right. So with that in mind, having Gotham as a suburb of Metropolis, is that big a deal? Then you made it a point as a negative thing, but with the way you're describing it,
Yeah,
wouldn't
because-
they naturally be that
Because
close to each
Gotham
other
should
anyway?
never be called a sub.
A
Right,
suburb.
suburb.
It's its own
and,
thing.
and
Okay.
the fact that
It's a borough.
when
No, that's fair.
Clark Kent was working for the Daily Planet, and it's like Bruce Wayne's coming to town. Who's that? It's like it's like the richest person in the country's coming.
It's like saying Bill Gates is coming to town. Who's that?
Here's what I find to be
Okay.
okay. For those of you who don't know, I'm a professional wrestler, and I look at a lot like
that explains a lot.
yeah.
Oh, that were you in that show Friday night? Is that where that came from?
No, actually,
okay.
no.
All right.
So I'll tell you the real story behind my black eye. I finally said the wrong thing to my wife. So there it is. No, but I feel like, okay, so let's take the 70s, 80s, and let's look at like characters. Lots of color, lots of hokey. Wrestlers all had these gimmicks, had these colors, had these things that were over the top and kind of just weird. And like the same thing with the superheroes. And now everybody wears dark colors, has
Leather.
has tribal tattoos on their face and in weird spots and all that. Like you can't tell that even in sports you had your Dan Marino, your John Elway, the colors.
You
of
had the good
things.
guys, bad guys.
Yeah, man. There was the thing. Now it's everybody's towing the line. Everybody's just kind of like this anti-hero.
And
dark
actually,
Your
leather.
faces and your heels.
To make the the analogy right now, they're making an Aquaman movie for the DC universe.
Yeah, and Aquaman is now a badass.
He
looked like this. Whatever.
Aquaman should be wearing the orange and green outfit we saw in
Talking
Super
with
Friends
dolphins.
instead of looking like Roman Reigns.
He should also
riding a
be
seahorse.
Riding the seahorse, yes.
You should be hokey as all hell.
So I own a marketing firm, and we recently put together our core values and did all this stuff, and then we all went home and thought about who are the character that best represents us, and we value things like integrity, hard work, creativity, and so everybody went home. All these like non-comic book guys were like, I think an owl would be good. I think this would be good, and I wrote all this stuff, and my buddy. Former WWE superstar who works for me now, Colin Delaney, comes in and he goes, "It's Aquaman," and I'm like, "Oh, it is Aquaman." So all of a sudden now we've got this influx of Aquaman stuff everywhere because really he's one of those characters that is not supposed to be that. He talks to sea life, and can still somehow hang with the best of the best. I mean, there's something really, and he needs to be creative, right? Like, how are you going to, and the integrity and to run
I think what they're trying to do is there is a history of like in the early 2000s of making Aquaman darker, especially like with the Justice League,
the hand,
where they cut off his
hand. The Peter David series.
Yeah,
they call him Arthur.
Yeah.
They call him Arthur.
Arthur Curry, yeah.
Yeah.
Talk.
But yeah, I think that's what they're trying to hook into, as opposed to the hokey Aquaman of the Super Friends.
Yeah, but in the Marvel versus DC, when Aquaman was fighting Submariner, and Submariner beat Aquaman and was spending the last before he could pin him because he had to pin him to beat him. And then Submariner went into this 5-minute rant about how much better he is than everybody else, and was about to do his Imperious Rex thing, and Aquaman dropped a whale on him and won.
To this day, my favorite Aquaman is Brave and the Bold.
Yeah.
I was just going to bring that up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Just the.
So
He's
hokey.
just so hokey.
Fantastical. What was he?
He was great.
Oh my God.
Telling great stories. And he's like a knight, and it's like, we're going to go and we're going to
Just
defeat
full of
this
himself.
monster.
They basically tried to
Old chap.
He was a knight of the Round Table.
Yeah.
And from Atlantis. It was hilarious.
Yes,
it was wonderful.
So in the 50s, when you have your golden age, your silver age, whatever the hell age of comic books, in the 50s when everything is all up and perky and the economy is booming in the country and everything is wonderful, and you see these multicolored superheroes gracing the pages of your favorite comic books, and these fantastical spandex costumes and capes and stuff on your TV and your serial movies and things like that. And then here we are, fast forward it to the modern era, the 2017, 2016, 20-teens, whatever the hell. And, everybody's brooding and upset, and we're all pissed off. And we...
Except Captain America.
He's hanging in there, but even that has got a bit of a darker edge to it now. So our stories are reflecting the culture of the times. So everything has to be dark and edgy because we, as a people, have become dark and edgy because of the influences. And let me just finish this real quick. Yeah. So do we need these characters to be what they were originally to kind of show us the way, or do we need to have them continue to reflect who we become?
I think like the when people were having bad times in the 40s with the kind of the war and stuff, there was lighter entertainment to get people's minds off of the bad issues of the day.
And it's kind of turned, hasn't it? It's like, no, it's just it's kind of like feeding into it almost is what it feels like.
Yeah, it feeds into it. But that's why then you need Superman, Batman. You need the bright colored guys, the guys who are good, so that you can have something to look at and say, this is what we want to be like.
Yeah.
And
then they need to change their uniforms and their costumes because they're really dark now.
Just make sure that's not animated.
I mean, in retrospect, the Michael Keaton and Val Kilmer and George Clooney Batmans weren't so, but they're not so dark if you look at them now.
Right.
They're still light enough. There's enough humor in there, enough lightness in there. Whether it's Michael Keaton just sort of confused about how big his house is and that type of thing.
Yeah.
But it's like they just need to make it a better image for people. Or if you just keep feeding everybody dark, you're just going to get more and more dark. And
which Marvel has done well with. I mean,
Yes.
there's a sense of humor. Guardians of the Galaxy is one of my favorite.
Oh my
movies.
God,
Can't
it's a
wait
great
for the new
movie.
one.
Yeah.
I think what it is Marvel's having a better time reading the people.
Okay.
The people want a more positive type of movies, and I feel like the Marvel universe has been a hell of a lot more positive than the DC universe.
Like there's a quote from Joss Whedon, and this was during an interview that he was doing in the run up to the first Avengers movie. He said the secret to my success is you mirror that society, you make it dark, you make it gritty, you make it serious, but for God's sake, tell a fucking joke.
Yeah.
And Avengers did that. You know, it made it especially in the New York scene. You know, it's bad. It's they're getting beat, they're getting hammered on, but they're still keeping those little running comments to each other. They're
Keeping it light.
They're
and
keeping it
there's-
light. They're letting the audience associate with their sense of humor, and you see that throughout all of his other work, Buffy, Angel, whatever the case may be. But in
Man of Steel, that was not
they
during
didn't
Man of Steel at all.
They didn't never got around. The funniest comment in the entire movie of Man of Steel was at the end when he makes he has that last exchange with the general, flies off, and there's the captain behind. Well, he's kind of hot. That was the funniest comment in the whole damn movie. It was one of the last lines of the damn movie.
Yeah.
Whereas the only line that I can truly remember with Batman versus Superman is when they're fighting.
Martha!
No, it wasn't even that. It's when Wonder Woman comes in and they're like,
that
I
was
thought
it.
you brought her. And I thought
Did
she
you
was
bring her?
with
I
you.
thought she was with you.
That was
okay.
like the-
That's
but yeah,
like the
I can
last
say-
10 minutes
Again.
of the
Right,
movie.
but I can like sit there and quote different lines from the Marvel movies just because they grasp
that's
you
it.
Yeah.
so
There's
much
another good
more.
point.
That
Yeah.
it's like you and I have a different memory of Budapest or things like that. It's like it'll be fun.
I'm
just
looking
like
for a
Budapest.
Tony Stank.
So, and you always look for that one moment in the Marvel movie too, where Stan Lee comes in.
Right.
you
Yes.
know, it's
You're always looking for that.
But I think that's another thing that I think that we need to take into consideration, that there still is. This is a part of our childhood, right?
Yeah.
All this stuff is a part
absolutely.
of our childhood.
Absolutely.
okay? And when you start to take that away, you start to lose that feeling of being young and being a kid, and when you take that away and you just go dark, it's kind of losing its luster for
I don't
me.
want
It's
to be
like-
That's a hell of a point.
yeah, exactly. I mean, why
Yeah.
are we doing this?
That's a hell of a point.
And then
Yeah.
also, when you have to ask yourself, can I take my kid? Well, guess what? For everybody, kids are a huge part of our society. So how much money are you losing on a movie that you're not sure if you can take your kid to?
Deadpool made a whole lot of money.
Right.
Well,
But
Deadpool
they-
was an outright appeal to the modern, mature moviegoer who
and
wanted
Ryan
something
Reynolds
like
says
It was a
this is
comedy.
not a kid's movie.
Yeah.
When it came
But
out.
it was a comedy.
right.
It was.
It was a
It was a
comedy.
comedy.
It
sudden
knew what-
violent comedy.
Well, how do you
Knew
feel
what it
about
was.
That's breaking the fourth wall.
It knew
Yeah.
it was a R-rated movie, and it knew how to do R without being like. It wasn't like, oh, I'm so edgy, I'm R. It's like, I'm R, deal with it.
Yeah, no.
Do you think the new Wolverine movie, Logan, or Old Man Logan, whatever they're calling it,
Logan.
is a reaction to DC being dark because now it's a somber R-rated movie?
I don't
No,
think so.
I don't
it's
think so. I
his-
think
it's
what
his
it is.
last movie.
Yeah, I think what it
done.
is the people who created the Logan movie are reading the tenor. This is probably the movie they've been wanting to make about this character for the longest time, because this is what Wolverine is all about. He has always been that
broody.
yeah, the broody edge, and pardon the pun, but he's always been that anti-hero. He's always been that character that will turn things on its ear if he wants to, and I think this is the movie they've always wanted to make, but they couldn't because the landscape was PG-13 for the longest time. Now Deadpool, you see the DC universe kind of trying to trickle in there, but Deadpool comes along, smashes the barrier down, and says, I am the comic book movie for the adult set, for the college kids and up. And they see that, and they're like, okay, well, Hugh's getting old. He doesn't want to make another movie. We can convince him maybe to do one more. Let's make the movie we've always wanted to make. There's tons of source material. This is our opportunity. So I think they read it and ran with it. It wasn't that, we need to there was no vibe in the production of this movie, in my opinion. I didn't feel the vibe of, we need to catch up with the Deadpool crowd, or we need to catch up with this crowd. It was, hey, we have an opportunity here. Let's make the story we've always wanted to.
But don't forget, V for Vendetta was R. So was Watchmen.
Well, see, the thing about V for Vendetta and Watchmen is
They're also dark too.
they are, but the graphic novels they come from are as well. But
They weren't part of the DC universe
not.
proper.
exactly,
Right.
I tell you what, I had forgotten until you mentioned it this morning during show prep that Watchmen was part of the DC universe.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten that completely.
It is.
And
It
V
is
for
now-
Vendetta is kind of standalone because it has that ability of being on its own. It's its own story. It's an own observation of things. So when you talk about those movies, in my opinion, those are movies based on graphic novels, quality graphic work. Okay, but I don't see them as part of the DC universe. I don't see them as akin to the Marvel universe because they're not the superhero movies that or the superhero stories that you
in DC
are used to.
Rebirth, they are now.
Yeah, they
are.
The
they've got
comic
adopted in the
Manhattan's,
Rebirth.
Part of the DC universe.
Yeah,
now.
so
That's
there's
wild.
I was just going to ask if we could
Go ahead.
break off and talk about that for just a minute because I'm super excited about this whole Watchmen
Rebirth?
thing.
Oh, the Rebirth.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Just in
Rebirth is
finding
excellent.
finding
New 52 sucked, but now they got Rebirth, and that's like
finding the thing in the Batman's cave, the
Right.
pin. Just I'm hearing whispers because I'm so tied into the the world of comic books. I'm hearing Swamp Thing is gonna save the world from the Watchmen. I'm just hearing all these weird, cool
I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, no, I'm
It's
super
going to be
excited.
it's going to bring a whole new level to it. I
52
think.
stuff was like, New 52.
I mean, the comic
this
books
is-
knew the DC knew to sort of lighten up the comic books.
Yes.
Yes.
And with the whole Rebirth thing, and they're doing well. Do you think now the movies, to get back to the DC movies?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you think will they take a page from the comic books?
Yeah.
If they want to be successful, they're going to have to.
Because
I think there's really.
Superman is now lighter than he was before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Well, he went on a diet, didn't he? It was,
but it's
Lots of fish.
They've changed things around.
From Aquaman.
And even
he went back to the Arctic and decided to
fishing?
mellow out.
Yeah.
well, this is the
Chill out,
Superman-
literally.
This is the '80s Superman who's married Lois Lane and has a kid and who's in this universe now. So because
Oh,
the other
that's
one,
cool too. The kids.
yeah. So they've got lots of cool stuff that they're doing now, and it's like this is better than it used to be.
Okay.
Do you think the movie people are getting sick of being compared to the TV people? And the TV shows
I would say
being better,
somebody in the movie crew, either an actor or a writer or a producer or some sort of stagehand, has probably got to be getting ticked that the movies are being compared to the Arrowverse on TV,
Yeah.
and
And
not
losing.
in a good light.
Yeah.
They're like, why can't you be like the guys on TV? And that was a big thing. Is Marvel has done a lot of hard work in tying in its Netflix and its Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV series to the movies. I mean, yeah, there's not they don't
while still
flow
being
together.
separate.
While still
Right.
being separate. Whereas DC has basically just wiped their butt with them and said that's it. TV and movies are separate. And in this modern era where media is across so many different platforms,
was
that's a
probably a
disservice.
mistake.
It's a mistake. Absolutely.
Look,
Absolutely
they brought Constantine back. It was canceled on NBC, and they brought him into the Arrowverse.
Same actor.
Yeah, same
Which I
actor
thought was
and
a
everything.
great. That was a
It
great tip.
worked.
That was
They're
well
actually
done.
they're actually making an animated one on
Yeah,
CW
and the
Seed
CW
for
Seed.
him.
Yeah.
And is the actor going to be the same voice?
I'm
or
not sure.
Is
I
it?
think so.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, he
that'd be
is.
cool.
My
Go ahead, Jay.
question is, why can't you? I mean, these are, for all intentional purposes, B characters. You know, I mean, you keep your Supermans and your Batmans up here, and then you cross in.
They don't want
your,
to.
to your. Oh, I get that,
But I don't understand why they don't.
Because now there's already two separate Supermans too.
There's
with
two
Henry
separate
Cavill
Supermans.
and
There's
Yeah.
two separate Flashes.
So have a moment. Well,
Alternate
because they
Earths.
also
Yeah,
want you to
I mean,
buy
that's
into
the
this.
thing.
Yeah, they want you to buy into this
The
whole
multiverse.
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
I think that's, and guess what? Really good idea in that sense, because then you can do anything and
Yeah.
With the
ta-da,
Earth
it
1,
wasn't-
Earth
it wasn't
2.
real, right?
and the
you know?
TV
Earth
shows have
19.
addressed that. The TV
Yeah.
shows have addressed that
Yeah.
with Flash and Supergirl being on different
Universes.
Earths.
Yes.
Earths.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it would be absolutely hilarious if someone from one of the CW shows gets a cameo in in the movies. I don't think it will ever happen.
No,
but I
it'd
think it'd be
be
hilarious.
an interesting tip.
But
Yeah.
it would be great if they did that. It would boost everybody.
It would.
It'd be funny if Superman's battling somebody out in a rural camp wooded area, and they crash down the middle of a summer camp, and there's Stephen Amell teaching archery.
Yeah.
that'd be funny.
That kind of a thing. Anyway, I have a question.
Or just throw Grant Gustin and have him be Grant Gustin somewhere.
Yeah, there's singing karaoke or something like that.
That's coming up, though.
Yeah, it is.
The
I
two-part
noticed.
episode.
I'm looking
March
forward to that.
Whatever.
March 4th, right?
Yeah.
All
March
right,
4th.
I have a question for the panel, and then I have two words that I'm going to say. So question, and then I have two words for you. All right, so my question is this, because I made no bones about it in many conversations so far. I am a Marvel guy. My pull list is 100% Marvel. And it may actually add DC because my son has discovered Green Lantern in the Rebirth. Is there a particular title that you would recommend, DC fellas, that as a comic book enthusiast as myself, amateur one, what title would I pick up to start kind of getting into the DC universe a little bit more?
I really like Superman right now.
Okay. So Superman and the Rebirth.
Superman,
Batman.
Super Son, the Trinity.
Anything
the
with
new Trinity.
anything with the main heroes.
Okay. Is there a Justice League title right
Justice
now?
League
Okay.
title, yep.
Luthor's not part of the Justice League anymore.
Lex Luthor was part of the Justice League?
Lex Luthor was leading the Justice League.
Holy
also-
crying out loud.
He was
That's
president
awesome.
at one point, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was president of the United
too.
States for a while,
but
too.
now he's wearing Superman's S.
Oh, really?
He's kind of like
He's bought into
good
it now.
For
And
now.
actually,
I like how you're doing the air quotes while you say good.
It's good for
That's a
now.
good kick.
Flash is really, really good.
I've always
I
liked
like
the Flash as a character. I've always thought, Barry Allen, Wally West, whoever happened to be, I thought that was a great
Kid
character,
Flash.
a great way to balance out the seriousness of the others. All right, now, my 2 words. Suicide Squad.
Okay.
All right, let's talk about that movie. Because we've kind of hinted at both Man of Steel and Batman and Superman and all the flaws and whatnot. Let's talk about
Harley
Suicide
Quinn
Squad.
stole the show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
She was the show.
She
I
was
liked
the show.
it.
Her and
I mean,
Deadshot.
Overall, I liked it. Mm-hmm. I thought it was the best of the 3. Mm-hmm. It's better than some Marvel movies, in my opinion. But
Which ones?
like the sequel ones, like
Okay.
Iron Man
Thor
2
2.
and 3, Thor 2.
Yeah.
Did
yeah.
Suicide Squad suffer from the I want to do too much in a short period of time
Yes.
syndrome?
Too many origins all at once.
Well, they didn't even do them all.
Yeah.
Right.
I like what's his name? Who's the guy who got Slipknot?
Slipknot.
They
introduced him, and then 2
killed
scenes
him.
later, they killed him. Right?
It's like, come on.
Well, they obviously set it up that way because they needed to prove that they were going to blow you up if you don't do this, which I understand, but it sucked because what are you going? We don't. Oh, I'm so sad. We just lost Slipknot. I am
cares?
going to cry.
like Captain Boomerang didn't do anything either.
Yeah. Killer Croc I always liked as a character, and
But in
not
this, he
much,
wasn't. Yeah. All the other characters weren't as good as
Harley Quinn.
Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
Margot Robbie stole the show.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Margot
And-
Robbie steals the show pretty much when she's on screen.
And for the hate Jared Leto got, I thought he was an okay Joker.
He was an okay
he-
Joker.
but he didn't
I
do
thought he was all right.
anything.
Yeah, but that's how it get. Like, I still remember. I thought I
But he was
enjoyed him.
he was mobster Joker.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't Mad Dog chasing a bus Joker. He was
Mobster Joker.
mobster Joker.
He wasn't Jack Nicholson or Heath Ledger.
No.
He sort of reflected the times we're in now. Sort of a cynical douchebag.
Sociopath.
I saw a YouTube video comparing him to the one from the TV show with Adam West. What was his name?
Caesar Romero.
Caesar Romero.
Caesar Romero.
Really?
No, I wouldn't see it. But it's still, it's like they could have done better. The villain that they had, the Enchantress, wasn't like I don't know. They take the comics and
Time
make them
to
whatever
belly
they want.
dance, guys.
Yeah,
I mean,
Yeah.
Harley was such a hit. They're making a Gotham City Sirens movie now.
I'd heard
A
something about
spin-off.
that. Now, what is that? Was there a comic book title with that
Yeah,
name for a while?
Harley, Poison Ivy, and
And Catwoman?
Yeah.
Batgirl.
Yeah.
One, maybe Black Canary.
Yeah.
You know, but none of those others exist in the DC cinematic universe yet. So you'll have to do origins for them all.
See, I don't.
Or do them, a little bit more subtly, because Suicide Squad, I've always felt like they were sledgehammering people in not really kind of making it blend into the story, but it was like, oh, bam, here's a new guy, bam,
then-
here's another guy.
And then who's the villain going to be? It's not like you got their bad guys fighting bad guys.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Their villain is Batman.
except for it can't be Batman. You can't have Batman. That's the thing. You can't have Batman show up in every movie that you make. But that's what they want to do.
All right, guys, we know that Batman's a very popular character. How can we put Batman into this movie?
He delivers the pizza in the Batmobile. Yeah, that's going to work.
Yeah,
All right,
let's do that.
Here, let me ask this. Ben Affleck as Batman. Are we liking it, not
I
liking it?
didn't mind him.
I thought he did a great job with it.
I'm indifferent at the moment.
I
I
think
want
he
to
did
see more.
I think he did a great job as Bruce Wayne, which is always seems to be that aspect that kind of gets missing in a Batman story. Like Michael Keaton had his turn as Bruce Wayne as well as Batman, and he had a really good blend. He had a really good gentility to him, or a very easygoing kind of thing. Which when you have Michael Keaton as a comedic actor come in and play that part, that was It was weird. It was wild, but it was so cool to watch him in action.
I like the Animaniacs episodes where it's like where they show Batman and then the bat suit opens up and out walks like a short Michael Keaton.
And then, you can say what you want about Val Kilmer and George Clooney. They're great actors, great personalities, but probably not right for the part. And then, you've got Christian Bale. Thank you. And whatnot. But I really do feel I really do feel that Ben Affleck has kind of taken over. He's made it his own. But swinging back to Suicide Squad, guilty of too much too soon.
Yes.
And too fast. And
soundtrack was great, though.
Yeah, soundtrack
was good. So
yeah.
Excellent use of music, and they did too much with characters. The general, you got to have more that the general audience they're not familiar with. Enchantrix and Captain Boomerang.
How about?
Here we go.
Oh wait, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
Yeah, you're right about that.
So,
okay,
I
I
think-
retract my statement.
I think that there was some really. Well, clearly it was one of the better. It made a ton of money, right? Out of all the movies.
Yeah,
right?
it was one of the top
probably
movies. Of
Somebody had to get it, right?
Right.
I think that sometimes we talk about movies that are made for fans and then made, so we're talking about this that Wolverine movie and blah, blah, blah. This is a movie that was made for fans. And I think also, just for the record, I don't need a long, drawn-out backstory every single time.
I agree with you
because
100%.
I know these characters, I know that backstory.
But I don't think you need an origin story in general. A lot of times comic books, they wait, back in the old days, they used to wait issues before they decided, all you needed to know, here's the character, here's what he can do.
Right.
And he's in
Here's
this
his
situation
powers.
right now.
Yeah, and here's the situation.
And
And,
I
you'll
liked
learn his
Captain
motivations
America.
by watching the writing, watching the acting.
I mean, when I was a kid, my first comic was Justice League issue 114 or something. I didn't know who all these characters were when I picked it up.
Yeah.
I just knew here's Superman and Batman and Poison Ivy and all the other characters. And Tattoo Man can touch his tattoo and it comes to life.
There you go.
Yeah. And I, as far as them doing too much, I don't know if I agree with that. I tell you, I didn't like the Enchantress thing. I thought that
She was a weak villain.
But they were going to destroy the world. I mean, these guys weren't.
These guys weren't on that
world.
level.
These guys aren't world defenders, right?
No.
Like, bring somebody in, right? It would have been better if it was some Russian thing or something, some A-bomb, some whatever, something like
Terrorists,
that.
whatever.
Yeah, I
those
would
are the
like
flavor
that
of the
better.
day.
And there's some great characters you could have put in there for sure. Some stories you could have told with some of those
KGB
characters.
Beast.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that would have been fun.
Yeah.
Some really cool, fun stuff. I think this movie, and I think this. Okay, first of all, Suicide Squad's been out for a long time.
Yeah.
It only really got popular 5-6 years ago, and I think that they were like
Harley
we're gonna-
wasn't even part of the team.
No.
Yes, exactly. And so I think this started out as this is let's say there was a whiteboard similar to the one behind us in the studio here, and it says what movies we would like to make for us. And I think it started off as one, for comic book guys. I think it was one of those things that was like, man, this movie would be great. I always want to see B, C characters. I mean, God,
Animal
God,
Man.
Please do a Booster Gold,
Booster
Blue Beetle.
Oh, they keep
That'd be
talking about
hilarious.
Booster Gold.
That would be
the
hilarious because
blue
he's
and
such an interesting character.
Like
Let's
I heard
do these
rumor of a
things.
Dead Man movie not too
Dead
long
Man
ago.
would be
really?
cool.
Love
That would be
Dead
fun.
Man.
That might
That
be
would be
cool.
fun.
Sure. And but
Spectre.
so here we are with these
yeah.
characters, and then it was then it got oh well, we got to bring in Harley and we got to bring in Joker,
'Cause
and
she'll
you gotta
bring in the-
Batman,
we gotta-
and,
yeah, like-
and it's I don't think they needed to do all that. And then here was this okay, defending the world against Enchantress thing. I was okay. Overall, I love the soundtrack. I thought the characters were well done. I would have liked a tad more color in some of the stuff.
You mean brighter, not shot in the dark?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one thing with the DC movies are all shot at night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All in the dark at night. It's how come they don't fight any crime
Batman
during
comes
the
out
day?
at night, right?
Yeah.
Rob a bank during the day, and you should be all set.
In the 1960s Batman, he was out during the day all the time.
When is Justice League supposed to come out? Is that this year? Is it coming
This
out?
summer?
This summer.
It's coming out this
no,
summer?
No, this November. Wonder Woman's out this
Wonder
summer.
Woman is this summer.
June 2nd for Wonder Woman.
Okay. Well, what's going to happen is this. When Wonder Woman comes out, we're going to try and do something a little bit more immediate, because usually we're recording podcasts and we're releasing them almost a month or so later. But when Wonder Woman comes out, I want as many of us, yeah, I was an English major, as many of us to see it as possible. And then we're going to come back almost immediately after Wonder Woman is released. We're going to do a review. We're going to talk about what we think. Have they learned anything in the DCU? Are they going in the right direction? Is this the step, that milestone that's going to take them in the direction we would see DC go in? All right, so we're going to have that conversation. And then again, we'll do it again because Justice League is going to be, we're going to hold that right up to the Avengers. Justice League and
Avengers. Can do that.
Chris, can we do that live so people can actually
do a live podcast? Yeah. So while we're at the movie? We're going to talk to each other?
No.
All right.
When we meet, can we do it live so people can call in?
Yeah, we could try that.
That'd be fun.
By November, we should have most of our tech under control at that point.
Version of.
But I don't think you can hold I don't know.
I don't
know.
But you have to understand.
You should be able to hold.
That's
Justice
what I'm going to
League
do, though. And then
to the Avengers.
Yeah, as the more casual observer than you and Billy, because you guys have been around this and you've been around this culture for so long, and you're into it much farther than I am. And I know I'm a power geek, but you guys have that edge on me. And so for me,
geek.
Well, DC Comics is my sweet spot.
And that's the thing, is you talk about that often, Billy.
Yeah.
And so
but you should be able to hold Justice League. Justice League should kill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it really
should kill the Avengers.
The Avengers,
but
I
don't know.
It's going to be interesting to see what have they learned by listening to people like us talking about it.
Superman isn't there yet. Don't forget, Superman's dead for right now.
Well, I know. Well, he's going to come back in Justice League, right?
Somewhere along the way.
So here's the thing: are they going to take advantage of everything the armchair
spoilers.
quarterbacks like us have said? Are they going to take advantage, and they're going to craft this movie to accommodate what they've been hearing? So are they really going to listen to the fans? That's the question I'm going to be interested in
right now, I
asking.
think the DCW does a better job than the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh yeah, well by far. I don't think I've even watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in a year. I've missed most of the past season and a half.
I've caught up too. They just finished the Ghost Rider thread.
Okay.
Now they're on a new one, which
I did see the beginning of the Ghost Rider thread.
On the fence about this new.
Who is it?
Oh, where the guy is, Captain America / the new head of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh,
the head of S.H.I.E.L.D.
that
no,
guy.
not him. It's just the storyline with them.
with Jocastra, which should be.
Well, at this point, I think we're going to wrap this one up, put this one to bed. But like I said, when Wonder Woman comes out, we're going to talk about it again. When Justice League comes out, we're definitely, because I want to see if the people behind the DC universe are as capable of evolving and listening to what has transpired as we're hoping they are for these characters. So, with that being said, for Jason, Wayne, Tony, myself, Tanya, and Billy, this has been Monkey Business, a product of Mighty Monkey Productions. Putting on its second show, Flower City Comic-Con, May 20th and 21st of 2017, this year at the Rochester Riverside Convention Center. Follow us on Facebook, www.facebook.com/FC3ROC.
Color me impressed. You didn't do that with the paper.
Oh, you have these things memorized.
I
had to close my eyes to think it through because I didn't have my little
professor.
script.
Yeah.
Well, I can learn too.
Yeah, I hope they get Justice
You had homework.
I had homework.
I hope they get Justice League right.
I love you all.
I hope they get Justice League right.